On behalf of the members of the Buddhist Embassy, I extend the warm welcome to you all, distinguished religious leaders, ladies, gentlemen, and children. We would like to invite Bhante Kovida, who was born in Jamaica, studied in Canada before embarking on an overland journey to India, Nepal in 1974 to 75, where he began his study of Indian history and culture and yoga and meditation and Buddhism. So we appreciate you are taking time out from your busy schedule to join us today. And Bhante will be discussing the teachings of Dhamma, and also he will explain if you have any questions. Thank you. So I welcome Bhante Kovida.
Okay, so greetings everyone. Welcome again. And as usual, we just start with just a few minutes of mindful breathing. Just coming to the present moment. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. present moment, wonderful moment. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I'm at peace. We can do the loving kindness meditation, Metta Bhavana. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from fear, conflict, and delusion. May my family and friends be well, happy, and peaceful. May they be free from fear, conflict, and delusion. And if you're in the working world, may my co-workers be well, happy, and peaceful. May they be free from fear, conflict, and delusion. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be free from fear, conflict, and delusion. You can rub your palms together. And just gently massage the face. And just be aware of the touch sensation. As you know, the sense of touch is also one of the aspects of consciousness. And later we'll be speaking about the mystery of consciousness, because life is really a great mystery. I'll just read this There's a reflection. These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with nature today. These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with nature today. There is no time for them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. But man postpones or remembers. He does not live in the present, but with reverted eye laments the past, or heedless of the riches and beauty that surround him, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. He cannot be happy, strong, and secure until he too lives with nature in the present, above time. This is why appreciating the beauty of nature during this time of the pandemic is very, very beneficial. And looking at the sky, looking at the clouds, there's a wonderful sunset this evening. There were gray clouds, and just at the horizon at sunset time, it just became golden and orange. So we can appreciate the wonder and mystery of nature, of life itself. I mentioned last week that when my mother passed away, I've thought more about her than about myself. I didn't see her death as a personal loss, the way many people would see a death. But rather, I thought more about her because I was very aware of her many frustrations, her dukkha, mental, emotional suffering and conflicts. So I felt happy and relieved that all her mental, emotional conflicts and frustrations were over. And by doing that, I could accept her death much more easily. And later I began to realize that that is really the virtue and freedom of loving kindness and compassion. Of course, in those days, I didn't know these words, loving kindness and compassion. But the experience is what it is. Because the virtue of compassion and loving kindness is that the self, the ego, is absent. It is not in operation. So there was no self-clinging, self-craving, self-attachment. And the few days that followed, I remember my hobby at the time was painting, oil painting. I taught myself oil painting. And in a way, it was my form of meditation at that time, being a frustrated and confused teenager, because it helped me to focus the mind in a very calm and creative way. And so while I was doing this wonderful hobby of painting and just reflecting on my mother's passing, there was a sense of compassion, gratitude, and also the mystery of life. I became more aware of existence as being a mystery, Because, when you're close to a parent or both parents, you can't imagine that they'll ever pass away. You think they'll always be around. And then suddenly, my mother was no longer existed in physical form. And so there was a sense of mystery, of this awareness of existence, that life itself was a mystery, and of course death was also a great mystery. And ever since then, I've been perpetually amazed at the mystery of existence. And this great writer, poet, artist, philosopher, Rabindranath Tagore, some of you might have heard of him. He was a great, great person from Bengal in eastern India. He once said, if you're not perpetually amazed and surprised by the mystery of existence, your humanity will not be complete. It's a very wonderful saying. If you're not perpetually amazed and surprised at the mystery of existence, then your humanity will not be complete. And you begin to see on a deeper level of reflection that birth, existence, and death are parts of a process in a much vaster and timeless reality and dimension. So it's a good reflection, seeing things, from a wider perspective. Sometimes it's referred to as the big picture, seeing things from a perspective. And you can be amazed that life actually evolved on this one planet in a solar system that is like a speck of dust inside the Milky Way galaxy. Just a speck of dust. The entire solar system, like a speck of dust inside the Milky Way galaxy. Just to give you an idea of how immense the Milky Way galaxy is. And to further boggle the mind, to realize that there are countless galaxies, countless. But that life should evolve on this one planet in a solar system that's a speck of dust inside just one galaxy of countless galaxies is indeed a great mystery. We also mentioned that that mindfulness practice and reflection helps us not only to come to terms with our basic aloneness, because we are alone. As the saying goes, we're born alone and we die alone. And if you're hungry, nobody can eat for you. Or if you're tired, no one can rest for you, and so on. But really is learning how to be. Just learning how to be. Because we're supposed to be human beings, but nowadays we're not really human beings anymore. We're human doings, because we're always doing, achieving, becoming something, or wanting to possess, to have things constantly. The materialistic consumer society. So learning to be is freedom from this constant craving to become. Because if you're always caught in becoming, striving, doing, achieving, having, wanting to have, wanting to possess, wanting to buy, etc., then we'll always experience the fear of not becoming, not achieving, not having, and so on. Now, most of our becoming is related to the future. Future plans, projections, and so on. Achieving. There's one aspect of becoming that's related to the past, and that is regret, when we have regret. And as we mentioned before, when we're always regretting, then we tend to experience guilt. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. Or if I thought of this before, things would be much better today. I'm so stupid. But in the state of being, through our mindfulness and meditation, we're free from becoming in the future and also becoming in the past. So we're free from time. Because in the state of being, we experience stillness, and we're in touch with the timeless state of the universe. Because the universe is timeless. But if you listen to scientists and cosmologists, you see that they're trapped in thinking, in their conditioned mind. And so they're always obsessing about the origins of the universe. The Big Bang Theory. And some cosmologists are even obsessing about the ending of the universe. And some are even speculating about what existed before the Big Bang. And you can see that the scientists and cosmologists do all this speculation because they're trapped in thinking, in past and future, in the idea of beginning and ending. But in that silence, that stillness of meditation, one is in touch with the timeless dimension. And that's what eternity is about. Eternity is not, zillions of years in the future, but rather is this timeless state of the universe. And one has that experience where you feel that the universe has always been and always will be. And this is why the Buddha said to one monk who was always speculating, he said, all these speculations are meaningless. The important thing is to bring your mind to the present moment and understand the nature of dukkha, of mental, emotional suffering and conflict, worry, fear, craving, anxiety, sorrow, and so on. So this is the great benefits of learning how to be, and we can be more at peace with ourselves. Now, we tend to say, when somebody passes away, we say somebody passes away or someone dies. Because this is our social convention or human language. But at a deeper level of reflection, it's really the process that we are. We're a process of body and mind, rupa and nama. So on the social level, we can say somebody dies, somebody passes away. But at that deeper level of realizing the body-mind process, you see that this body-mind process simply shuts down, it stops working. And we mentioned earlier that with mindfulness, we can actually experience this reality of body and mind. Because normally, if you just mention that we're just the process of body and mind, most people will say, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, because it's just a concept. They don't really understand it. But when we're very mindful, very present, we can see this reality. We mentioned when we do mindful breathing, the physical sensation of the breath, the rising, falling of the stomach, chest area, or the sensation of the breath at the nose, nostril. That is the body process or physical phenomenon. And the awareness of that physical sensation is mind, nama. You see physical and you see mental. That's all. Or body and mind. And if you're doing mindful walking, the movement and touching of the feet, the stepping of the feet, that is the body process or physical phenomena, and the awareness of the feet moving and touching, that is mind. You see, there's only body and mind. So on the social level, we can say, oh yeah, I'm walking or I'm doing mindful walking. But in that direct experience of mindfulness, there is only body and mind, that's all. Same with eating, we can experience just the body and the mind. And of course, the physical sensation is that of tasting, chewing, swallowing. And the awareness of tasting, chewing, swallowing is mind. You see that there's only body and mind. So whenever we are mindful, we can recognize this body and mind, the process of it. Even washing, say you're washing the dishes, you can see body and mind. So if you ask me who's speaking at the moment, on the social level, I can say Bhante is speaking, but really it's a body-mind process speaking. It's Rupa and Nama speaking. But it takes reflection, it takes mindfulness. Now, at a deeper level, we have the 5 aggregates, or the 5 factors of existence. And I think most of you know about the 5 aggregates. So again, on the social level, we say somebody dies, somebody passes away. But on the level of the 5 aggregates, or level of factors of experience, the 5 aggregates simply stop working. And very quickly, the 5 aggregates are the physical form that includes all the sense organs. There is feeling or sensation. There's perception. There's mental reaction or mental formation. And there is consciousness. These 5 things. And initially, these 5 things seem a bit complicated. And we don't see how these 5 things are related to our daily experience. So this is why I like to give a simple example of these 5 factors working. Then we can relate to them. And then at a deeper level, we have the 32 parts of the body. You can read it in the books. There's a list of the 32 parts. And you go a bit deeper and you have the 6 elements. Earth, water, heat, air, and space. And while we're alive, there's also the element of consciousness. And again, consciousness is related to the 6 senses. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. Because the Buddha had added the mind itself as the 6th sense. Because normally we are brought up to believe that we have 5 senses, but really there are 6. Because it's really through the mind that we experience the world. Through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. So the Buddha, in his profound insight, it was very clear to him that the mind itself, the ability to think, create ideas, and of course, the power of the imagination is what creates our daily experience. And we mentioned before about the three factors that create fear. The main factor is thinking and imagination. And that is obvious. You can observe your mind. Thinking and the imagination, the power of the imagination. And the other two factors are time, because thinking is related to time as past and future. And the third factor is desire, wanting. And we mentioned very briefly that the very root of fear, the tree of fear, is the self, clinging to the idea of a permanent separate self. And as you know, this conditioning that we all have, it's very deep rooted. So we'll be exploring about the nature of self. And of course, one of the oldest spiritual question or inquiry was and is, who am I? Who exactly am I? And when we begin to practice and we begin to have some level of awakening, you begin to see that who we really are is present moment awareness and knowing, the intuitive knowing that comes with awareness. But before we begin to practice and have some realization, we think who we are is this I. And we believe that all our thoughts, that we are our thoughts, including all the stories and dramas and worries and fears and frustrations that we experience, including feelings, emotions, moods. We think all these mental emotional states are who we are because we identify with them. We're conditioned to identify with them. And that is why we're deluded. We're deluded by thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And that is what neurosis is. Neurosis is when we identify with our psychological and emotional process. And so most of us suffer from neurosis to varying degrees. And I remember myself when the mind was trapped in thinking, feelings, emotions. But fortunately, I was able to have some awakening and going to India and learning the Dharma that taught me more about the mind, what the mind was, what the body was, what this I was. So we all have a sense of I, a self, or an ego. But you begin to see that it's only a conditioning. It's only a result of conditioning. That's based on thinking, on language, and memory. Because thinking is related to memory and past experience and knowledge and information. And you begin to see that this I, who we think we are, it's really just a collection of memories. Because if you're speaking to somebody, especially for the first time, and you're telling all your personal history, all your stories, you begin to see that they're really just memories. Memories, all our personal history. And with that, of course, we have future plans, future goals, future hopes and dreams. Because that's a part of thinking, part of the conditioned mind, which is all based on thinking. So we have that aspect of the mind, the conditioned mind, and then we have the unconditioned state, the awakened state, which is present moment awareness and knowing. And of course, all young children experience that state before, all the conditioning started. But young children don't understand this. But it's a natural state. And this is why I remember when I first had that, one of the first awakenings I had by the Ganges River of total silence and spacious awareness. I remember that as a young child, the mind used to be in that state. But when you're young, you don't really understand it. But it's perfectly natural. It's open, it's spacious, and it is timeless. Timeless means it is only in the present moment. There's no past, no future. So the idea of time is something which is conditioned in the mind. So that realization that we're this process of body and mind, you begin to see that the I is really just a social label. It's not who we really are, but it's just a social label that we have to use to communicate, because we need to use labels. I, you, he, she, and so on. And of course, we have names. And again, names are only social labels. They're not really who we are. But we become so attached to names, we identify so strongly with our name. So that if somebody calls you by a wrong name or forgets your name, you take it personally and you get upset. But really, it's just a social level. And I mentioned that it's very sensible to say to somebody, I'm really sorry, but I have forgotten your label, your social label, instead of forgetting your name. Well, names are really just social labels. And as you know, when we're born, we don't have names, but our parents have to, they give us a name and they fill out the birth certificate, time of birth, date of birth, and so on. But the baby is not aware of these things. So even the idea that you're born on a certain date and you have a certain age is also a social conditioning. But later we'll go into that. So going back to the convention of saying that somebody dies, somebody passes away, but at that deeper level, there's just the body-mind process simply shuts down. It stops working. And at a deeper level of the 5 factors of experience, the 5 aggregates, the 5 factors just simply stop working. And when we get to the elements go back to nature. So if you really want to know what continues after death, it's really the elements. They go back to nature. There's no I or no aspect of this personality that we're conditioned with that continues. But when we don't have this understanding and we are trapped in thinking, then of course we would like to believe in an afterlife. And this is why humans have created so many different beliefs in an afterlife. You could actually do a PhD thesis on all the different beliefs that human cultures have created in some form of afterlife. Because when we are trapped in thinking wants to continue somehow. Thinking is afraid to come to an end. So naturally, there's fear of the unknown, there's fear of death, and there's fear of the unknown. And out of this great mystery and fear of the unknown, why we have been asking this question for thousands and thousands of years. What happens to me when I die, and where do I go after death? We call it the age-old question, because today people are still asking this question, and in future we'll also be asking the same question. But it has to do with thinking. Thinking is afraid to come to an end. So it projects itself beyond death. And I can understand. It's very comforting, isn't it? Very comforting if unless you have this awakening, this understanding. But it takes practice. And the reason why when we think too much about the future, we naturally experience fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty. Even without the pandemic, whenever we obsess too much about the future, we naturally experience fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of uncertainty, because thinking cannot relate to the unknown. I think I mentioned this before, because thinking is always based on that which we know. From memory, knowledge, information. So thinking cannot relate to the unknown. Just like a fish cannot relate to the experience of riding a bicycle or driving a car or using internet. A fish cannot relate to those experiences. So likewise, our thinking mind cannot relate to the unknown. And that's why we have the fear of the unknown and uncertainty. And we mentioned too that when we practice and we allow the mind to become still and silent, then we begin to understand that stillness, that silence, it is the unknown. Meaning the absence of thinking, the absence of thought. And when we experience this stillness and we understand it, that it is the unknown, then naturally there is no longer the fear of the unknown. Because we experience the unknown as something very peaceful and timeless. There's no past, no future. You can say you become one with the universe, the timeless state of the universe, which is what eternity is. Eternity is that timeless state. And we can experience this, just like young children experience this. Because the present moment is eternal. So when the mind is in the present moment, and it's no longer labeling, judging, criticizing, comparing, liking, not liking, wanting, not wanting, and so on, in that very perception is the eternal. There's great peace, and there's beauty, and there's mystery. We believe that a self exists, that there's a permanent, concrete, separate, and independent ego entity which sees, hears, tastes, smells, feels, and thinks. We believe that a self lives and dies. We believe that other selves exist. This is the incorrect view of reality. What we take for self are only ever-changing phenomena. In reality, there is no I, no he, no she. These are just labels for social communication. We spend our lives dreaming about things which do not exist. Our wrong view causes us attachment and suffering. We have expectations of ourselves and others, and if these do not come through, we suffer from frustration, disappointment, anger, resentment, anguish, and so on. We're afraid of death, and we do not know what happens to the self after we have died. It would be most beneficial if we could see our life as it really is, only changing phenomena, mental and physical process. Then we could face with right understanding old age, sickness, and death. All phenomena in ourselves and around ourselves are only two kinds of realities. There's mental and physical, nama and rupa in Pali language. Nama experiences or knows. Rupa, the body, doesn't know anything. What we take for self or a person are only changing phenomena, only nama and rupa, mind and body or body and mind process. And we're alive because we're a process. This includes animals and insects, or the physical and mental phenomena. Emotions are also transitory and empty of self. Our whole life is like a change of moments of consciousness arising and falling away. When we realize that our life is actually only mental and physical process which arise due to conditions, we become more patient even in difficult situations, because we're no longer taking things so personally. There's only phenomena of body and mind. Mindfulness, awareness, attention is mental phenomena, which arises with a wholesome moment of consciousness. There is no person or individual, only different mental and physical processes appearing, one at a time, and they do not stay or last. Clinging to people brings sorrow. Eventually, we shall have to take leave of our loved ones and friends. Nothing is permanent. Through the development of insight, clinging to the concept of a person who exists can be eradicated. The Buddha saw that at the very root of suffering was a belief in a self, which is separate and permanent. Because of this belief, we are compelled to protect and gratify and worry about it. At the deepest level, the Buddha responded to the suffering he saw by helping people to awaken to the realization of selflessness, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and uncertainty. So this is a very profound insight, and it takes constant practice, constant reflection. And we also said that the elements that they return to nature. So that's what really continues after death. And at a deeper level, we have atoms, vibrating atoms, otherwise known as cosmic energy, because everything is composed of atoms. And you may recall the first law of science, which goes like this: energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change its form, and it can move from one place to another. So on this deep level of reflection, contemplation, we're able to go beyond the idea of birth and death. It's very profound. And what is interesting is that every day we take in atoms and we expel atoms. And the atoms that are in our body at any given time are recycled. They have been recycled many, many, many times. And some of the atoms that are in our bodies at this moment were once in the sky as water vapor, rain, clouds, and so on. And they have been around the planet many, many times. And these atoms, for example, say dinosaurs, some of the atoms that are in our body at this moment were once in the bodies of dinosaurs. So actually we're related to dinosaurs. And also what is interesting is that it's a possibility that there's one atom in our bodies at this very moment that was once in the body, the physical body of someone very famous a long, long time ago. Perhaps in the body of, say, Genghis Khan of the Mongols. Or maybe one atom was once in the body of, say, Julius Caesar during the time of the Roman Empire. Or even once, one atom was once in the physical body of, say, Jesus, Jesus Christ. And yes, it's possible that one atom in our body was once in the physical body of the Buddha. Very interesting. But it doesn't mean that we're enlightened. But we have the ability to awaken to what the Buddha realized. And so we begin to trust with practice and reflection. We begin to have more trust in this present moment, awareness and knowing, intuitive knowing. And this is, you can call it or Buddha nature, or wisdom mind. And the more we begin to trust this awareness, this is the real meaning of taking refuge in the Buddha, in the awakened state of mind. So at this moment, are there any questions?
I think Caroline has a question. Yes, please.
It is not a question. It's just an observation that I found these last few minutes, your description, the fact of us being recycled molecules and recycled atoms
Yes.
is fascinating. And
Yes.
I can get that. And that surprises me, but I really like that.
Yes, it's wonderful.
So,
it's wonderful.
Not a question, but it's pretty exciting, I think.
Yes, it
That's
is.
all.
Yes. And it's a part of the mystery of life, isn't it? Part of the mystery of existence.
I want you could, well, a lot of people might say, well, you're crazy.
That's okay.
But I would really like to have you write a little paragraph about that and send it to
Okay,
me.
I will. By the way,
I'll
I'm not
remember,
crazy.
but I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh no,
I'm not
I know.
crazy. It's the atoms that are crazy.
But I ordinarily I write things down as I'm going, but I've been listening and thinking, and anyway, that's all.
Sure, I'll send email.
Hi, Uta.
Hi, Carolyn. So
Remember
Bhante,
many moons ago, many years ago, there we were sitting in the backyard over here in
indeed.
Stittsville.
Yes.
And that's where we met. And our paths cross fairly rarely, but unexpectedly. And this happened this week for me and Uta.
Yes,
And
indeed.
we were happy that we were coming here.
Yeah.
So here
Past
we are,
lives.
atoms recycling, and my dinosaur being is getting
That's
tired.
right.
Thank
So
you.
Bhante, it makes a lot of sense to me now why I feel so old.
Oh, but
No,
I
no.
don't feel so old.
We are ancient.
You're
We're
timeless.
ancient.
You're timeless. It's the
Isn't-
atoms that are old.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Timeless is a
elements.
nice way to say it. We are timeless.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for timeless.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just like I tell people, if they're too worried about, if they're too fat and body image, I said, no. You are always slim and trim. It's the elements that are fat.
Well, I think that's funny.
That's right. So
When
Thank
I
you,
this is,
Visita.
sorry.
Thank you, Visita.
Yeah.
this is where the
I'll
Dhamma
unmute
is
me
so
again.
wonderful, and it's so liberating. You know, it's liberating. Yes. Because it
So,
takes us from that the conditioning of self, you know, the idea of a separate self, into a much vaster and deeper reality.
And I want to tell this. I want to tell my kids. I want to tell a couple of friends of mine. Listen,
Yes, tell them they're related to the dinosaurs. Believe it or not, they're related to the dinosaurs.
yes.
Yes.
Well, we know that the earth does not create any more water than there always has been. So same with that, the water is always recycled. It's the same water over and over again.
That's
You know,
right.
so yeah, and the clouds, they're just recycled. They're part of us, they're part of nature.
That's
I'm in
right.
a cloud is in me. So it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Mhm.
I really like that.
Yeah, it's a very wonderful reflection. Very wonderful reflection. So this is part of the teaching related to non-self and emptiness. Yeah, and emptiness. Because it's really the realization of non-self and emptiness that gives us the freedom, really true freedom and joy. Also, the joy that comes from that freedom. And that sense of wonder and mystery. That sense of wonder and mystery.
I do have a question,
Yes.
and this isn't about what you were talking about, but I only saw 3 of us, but it said there were 11 people here, but I only ever saw 3 of us. Me, you and Visita and Uta. Now there's only the 3 of us.
No, there are other friends too.
They are all here, and they
Oh.
have not turned the video on, so we could ask them if they have
Oh, I
question to
see.
video on and the mics on and to ask questions. So now we can see
Oh, there's somebody.
more people coming to say
Aha.
hi to Bhante.
This is my friend from Kuala Lumpur, Brother Teo from Kuala Lumpur.
And we see more. Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
Hello.
I think the mic is not on, I think.
Bichang, hello. Bichang, where are you? Are you in Malaysia or Singapore?
I think the mic is not on.
Okay.
Yeah, the mic is off. That's why we don't hear. I think she's in Singapore.
Mhm.
Oh no, the mic is off.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. And
I think she said Singapore. And
Singapore.
I think that's just amazing. Here we are all over the world, us recycled atoms.
That's right. It's quite international.
Wow.
It's quite international. So,
Hello, everyone. This is Angela. Can you hear me?
oh yes, now I can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. Me, B. Cheng, and Michael. We were actually schoolmates from secondary schools, and it was Michael who introduced us to this platform, and I'm really, really thankful for this because
Oh.
yeah, the conversation we just had is so profound. I liked the lady's mention of the cloud being a recycled water, and yet every day when you observe it, they take different forms. Sometimes very amazing, sometimes it even looks like something else. So I
That's
think
right.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe perhaps this would be the first time I ask question.
Yes.
Although we understand that death is just basically end of a process, but sometimes I wonder when we really actually lost someone, it is, I'm not sure whether we have the emotional strength to actually put that understanding into practice. You know what I mean? Sometimes the grief will actually overcome, all, whatever we learn or we understand the theories, how do we better prepare ourselves before that happens?
Yes, that's a good question, because we mentioned it is natural to feel sad, to feel sorrow when somebody close to us passes away. It's very natural. But we have to understand that the person is also a process of body and mind. And also that although the person no longer exists in physical form, but they're still very much alive in us. Not only in our, fond memories of them, but they're alive also, their genetic inheritance. But most importantly, they still exist in our wholesome state of mind, in our kindness, compassion, in our patience, in our ability to forgive others when they try to harm us or try to do unpleasant things. It's very important. These positive qualities that we get from our parents and different family members and cousins and aunties and uncles. Because we said briefly last week that no one and nothing exists as a separate, independent self. That everything is interconnected, interdependent, and that we're really a part of this complex web of life. And life is a very, very complex web of interrelationships, interconnectedness, and we're all a part of that. And this is why the Buddha said we have to calm the mind and reflect deeply to understand this. Otherwise, we believe that I am separate. I exist as a separate self. And the person who has passed away, they exist as a separate self, and now they're gone. They're no more. But as I said, their physical form, of course, no longer exists, but they're still very much alive in us, and of course, they're in nature. Because even the elements that make up their physical form, it goes back to nature, and it is recycled. It is recycled. And of course, the practice of loving kindness is also very beneficial in overcoming sadness or sorrow. Sending loving kindness to that person. And also to remember that the person who has passed away, there is no suffering. There's no longer any suffering. And what is interesting is that because we use language, we say, somebody has died or somebody experiences death. But that's just language. There's no I that experiences death, because death is a state of no consciousness, no experience. It's like when we're in deep sleep, there is no consciousness, no I, no thinking. So that deep sleep state, and all of us experience this when we go to bed at night. When we fall asleep, we pass out, mentally, we actually die. Every night when we go to bed. There's no consciousness, no thinking, and no I. So it's a very peaceful state. We are back to that state before we were born. Before we were born, there was no consciousness, no sense of I. So it's very good to contemplate, where was I, or where was my consciousness before I was born? See, there was no consciousness. So it's the same as in deep sleep state, and eventually, when this body-mind process stops working, when it shuts down, there is no consciousness. So there's no experience, and therefore no suffering. So this is something very important. And this is why I quoted that wonderful Tibetan saying last week. It says, when we're born, we cry, but the world rejoices. People are happy. And when we die, the world cries, but we may attain the great liberation, freedom from suffering. So this is something very beneficial to reflect on. And of course, you keep sending that person loving kindness, positive thoughts.
Thank you,
It's
Bhante.
really for your benefit. It's really for your benefit.
Can't agree more. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes. So you're calling from Singapore, right? Yeah, you're from Singapore.
Yeah. We
Okay.
live in Singapore now. Yeah, but originally we are from Malaysia.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
In Singapore, I usually go to the Buddhist fellowship. Buddhist fellowship, yes. So the YouTube videos, some of them are from Buddhist fellowship in Singapore, and some are from KL, from Kuala Lumpur. So just go to, you can find the videos on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. And if you missed any of the Zoom meetings, the Zoom videos are also on, I think it's a Buddhist Embassy YouTube. Go to Buddhist Embassy.
Yeah, I was actually, I missed last week's sessions because I was outside, and I was actually watching it this morning.
Good,
Yeah.
very good.
Thank you.
And there's Jenny. Hello, Jenny. I don't know if Jenny can hear me.
Hi, Bhante.
Hi. Where are you? Are you in Singapore or Malaysia?
Malaysia.
Okay.
I'm in Malaysia, KL.
Well, are you in KL?
Yes, I'm in KL, PJ.
Okay, in PJ. And you're having some lockdown there, right? Some lockdown at the moment.
Oh, yes. It's quite bad lately.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been extending the conditional movement control. So until next month, yeah.
So what can be helpful if you can't go outside, or you're feeling, frustration, some type of stress? Just go to the Qigong video and you can follow the video. It's very simple.
Yeah, I've been following the Qigong all these months.
Good,
so it's
very good.
Really very calming, very peaceful. Yeah. And plus the meditation as well. So it's
yeah, that's wonderful. Because after the Qigong, when you sit, it feels very good, doesn't it?
Yes, the focus is better.
That's right. Much better. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why when I'm conducting retreats, I also include the Qigong. And people always say they can sit much better after the Qigong. Yeah.
True.
So it really helps. And they're very simple, right? The movements are very simple.
Yes, very simple and no hard and fast rules. So it's easy to follow.
That's right. It's very relaxed, very open.
I have a question just about this whole process. Can Visita, maybe you can tell me, can I send the ID and password information to Owen? Owen is in Japan. Do you remember Owen Duggan?
Yes.
You know who I mean, Bhante?
Yes.
Yeah. I would like to let him know that you have a couple more talks. He would probably like to meet you or be here. Maybe.
Okay. Yes, please. So this ID can be used from anywhere in the world.
Okay.
And we can put any given time about 300 people live on the Zoom. And also we can put any number of people to watch from the YouTube. And I also shared the youtube.com/Buddhist Embassy. So when you go, please subscribe to the channel. So when there's a new thing about Bhante, it will automatically come to you. So there's a subscribe button.
I'm not sure I can do that.
When you go in the email to the YouTube, I just send the YouTube link, Buddhist Embassy for the past ones. Yes, I just send it to you. I can email to you. I have the email address.
Okay, if you email to me, then I'll forward to Owen.
Sure. I will certainly do that.
Yeah. I can send Owen an email also.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, I'll send him. I give him the information, and he can watch the previous videos
Just previous,
also. He can watch it.
Okay, you have his email.
That's right. I have it. Yes.
Perfect, perfect.
Because I'm not sure about the time difference between Japan and Ontario.
14 hours.
It's 14 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. They're 14 hours ahead of us.
Yes. That's
So
right. Mhm.
it's Saturday, almost Saturday at 11 or something right now in the morning.
Yes. Yeah. And Malaysia, Singapore is now 13 hours ahead.
Okay,
13,
so it's 13. Japan is 14.
14.
I have
Okay.
I have a meeting on tomorrow night with my son. He's in
Okay, so
Japan.
I'll send Owen the information.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
so
you,
happy
Bhante.
to-
Yeah.
I'm so happy
Yeah.
to be here.
Yes.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
you're
so-
all welcome. So may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Sukhi Hontu. Sukhi
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Hontu.
Thank you,
Sadhu,
Bhante.
sadhu.
Thank you.
Suki Hotu.